Hello everybody, welcome to What Culture Gaming. There's things happening with Red Dead stuff.
Whoa.
And we were going to do a video yesterday and then just scouring online. Pretty much the whole plot of Red Dead is now out there.
Is it?
Kinda.
See, I mean, I watched the trailer. I've not done any sort of extra digging online about what's going on.
I've been digging.
So you've been digging.
I've been digging.
And the plot's out there, is it?
It's not the full thing, and you don't need to worry about massive spoilers here. We're not going to be talking about character deaths or anything like that. But the basic staples of what the game's going to play like, the general sense of progression, and where the game is going to go in terms of the end game, all that stuff is out there.
I mean, some of it we know where it has to go because it's a prequel, right?
Yeah.
It's set beforehand, and there are some, isn't like Dutch in there, or some of the. Well, it's the same gang. It's the same. Yeah.
It's the Vanderlyn gang. That was one of the cool things, just from the official trailer, was that it confirmed the prequel setting. We had the younger Dutch and Abigail. If it is Abigail, we'll get to that.
Right.
Says like, "Oh, no, I'm always with you, Dutch," and she says the name.
Yeah.
Can't be him in the future because he dies in Red Dead 1. Has to be a prequel.
Yeah.
But basically, just run down a few different things. The way that this came together was that on Reddit, a few years ago, an account called Red Dead Insider posted what they said, which is obviously the name.
Right.
Posted what they said was going to be the summary for Red Dead Redemption 2, and obviously everybody went, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, you
that's a
can't
load of
just
bollocks.
call your username Red Dead Insider
and just pretend.
Yeah.
But now that the new trailer's out, pretty much everything this person posted now lines up, including the fact that they predicted Arthur being the protagonist, and they mentioned a few things to do with the way Rockstar operate in real life that actually matches up with one of their key founders leaving. They described a whole bunch of tumultuous times with the studio, and in real life, Leslie Benzies just left Rockstar, and he was like instrumental in making GTA what it is.
I mean,
he left last year.
The protagonist's first name is that's pretty.
I know.
Spot on.
So quite a lot of things match up. Going off that leak, we'll put this in the description as well, so you can have a click through, because the Red Dead Insider account's been deleted, but a different Redditor actually revived it or whatever and has been going through stuff. Okay. But you'll see like all these things just sort of like match up basically. So the main progression is apparently going to be about moving an outlaw camp across the land. So at any given time, you'll be able to pick from your squad of people and take them on different missions, which lines up with the official description on the trailer, and that's underneath the trailer on the Rockstar account, saying, let me get the quote right, that you'll be robbing, fighting, and stealing your way across the vast and rugged heart of America.
When you say you can
trying to survive,
pick from your gang, do you mean to come with you or to play as?
Well, assumedly it'll be to play as. We did see that other bit in the trailer where the three of them are walking through the bayou, which again confirmed the leaked map that came out last April.
Oh yeah, I remember the map. That was good.
Yeah, and so like there was a bayou in that. New Bordeaux is mentioned in that map as well, which is also Mafia 3, which also had a bayou.
Right.
Basically, it confirms that that map that came out back then is the map that we're going to be getting.
Wait, New Bordeaux is on that map?
It's in Mafia 3 as well, yeah.
It's yeah.
I don't know why. No one knows why.
Is it meant to be the same?
I don't know, because there's no crossover. It's
no
2K
crossover,
and yeah. But
it's coincidental, maybe.
Maybe, unless they just want to like tip the nod to them. I mean, all of Rockstar's names are always fictionalized anyway.
Yeah.
One of the names that was leaked back then was New Austin. As their version of Texas, and Louisiana as well. So that's one of the things.
It's in that kind of swampy sort of almost New Orleans style, because they've got the gators in the swamp and stuff. That looks pretty interesting. So yeah.
So all that stuff confirms the map. The official description from Rockstar lines up with the way that this guy described moving your like platoon of people from place to place. Also on that leaked map, there were a whole bunch of caravan camps, which when I analysed it last year, I thought meant it would be outposts like Far Cry style, where you'd be taking them out.
Yeah.
But I actually think it's going to be more like you're unlocking places to then call it home and like make your way across the different places.
Yeah.
They say that there's 5 zones to the map as well. Obviously the bayou is probably going to be one of them. But it does mean that at any given point you'll be able to like, if you're going to go on a mission, if you're outside of just free roaming, you'll pick from your squad. Like Dutch's gang is like 5 people or 6 people. And that was another thing, is that on the silhouette that they released, the initial image, the guy on the far right looked a little bit like potentially a Native American guy, which is confirmed in the trailer. So that all matches up as having another character that you could pick from.
That's interesting.
All that stuff.
Wasn't a great deal of Native American stuff going on in Red Dead Redemption.
Not really. You could play as them online, but even then they still use guns. One of the biggest things though, which is where it starts to get really meaty, is the young dude from the middle of the trailer.
I mean, I instantly thought...
I didn't at all, but I've seen more people talk about him being John.
Yeah.
That all matches up now. The thing, I'll potentially debunk this in a bit, but in theory, that's young John Marsden being recruited into Dutch's gang by Arthur Morgan, because the timeline sort of does match up. We know that Red Dead 1 takes place around about 1910, and he gets born in, I think it's 1877. So he'd be about 20-ish.
20-ish.
And he gets like 10 years older, puts him about 35 or whatever he is in Red Dead 1. But if the assumption is that he's a young dude who gets recruited into the gang, he never really wants to do any of that work. Maybe he has a bit of a dark streak or whatever.
Or he's forced, kind of coerced into it.
Yeah, and like so he then falls in love with Abigail. That was another thing, is that Abigail would be the person from the trailer. The thing that kind of debunks that is that her hair color is different and her eye color is different.
Oh.
But you could actually dye your hair back then, and I did Google the first contact lens, which was invented in 1887, so they could potentially be using them as well.
1887.
So my initial theory for this thing, which again lines up with all the different dates and the information that's out there, is that a young John Marston gets recruited into Dutch's gang. He then falls in love with Abigail. The two of them go through all this tumultuous crap, potentially killing off Arthur Morgan and, you know, trying to break away from a life of crime. John never wanted to be part of that gang in the first place. He maybe just did it because he didn't feel like he had any other option.
Yeah.
They do mention his mother being killed in the trailer, or they sort of allude to it anyway.
Right.
And potentially him and Abigail then want to make a clean break, resulting in her changing her hair color and her eye color. They then settle down, and maybe that's where we then segue into the initial Red Dead Redemption. It makes his death all the more tragic because it means that
it's a horrible tragedy from start to finish, basically. He just gets dragged into this horrible world and then dies at the end.
And it's like, another thing is that if he's a young character who gets brought into that life, it mimics what then happens to Jack Marsden, because it's his son that we get left with in the first Red Dead. So that thematically lines up again. It also means the Rockstar aren't abusing revisiting John Marsden, because they can basically just hint at the sort, or let him, you know, get involved in XYZ like nefarious acts without him being as bad as someone like Arthur Morgan.
Yeah, two questions I have, which might be fine or might be plot holes. Number one, what was it he said happened to his mum? Because she was a prostitute.
Yes.
And I think the implication was his dad was kind of her pimp.
So, yeah, so that's one of the biggest reasons why potentially some of this isn't true, although I really want it to be, is that in the first Red Dead, when John is talking to Bonnie McFarlane, he talks about when he was brought up, and he said that his mum died during childbirth and his dad died when he was 8. And the way that he says that when he's talking to Bonnie, it seems very genuine. It feels like he's coming out of his shell.
Yeah.
So this would be a retcon. Unless the actual ramifications of what happened to his father and mother are at the hands of the Van der Linde gang, and John's just like schooled himself to not bring people in, so he makes that story up.
She died in childbirth. Like keeping it.
It wouldn't be the first time.
No. My other question is, how familiar and comfortable did he seem walking around places like Armadillo in RDR? Because I get the idea. I kind of just got the impression it was new territory for him. He'd never been there, but this map overlays on the other one, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so...
and that was another one of the rumors, was that the whole of the first Red Dead map was going to be inside the Red Dead 2 map. If you go off the leaked map, it's pretty much the same one, obviously de-aged by a bit to remove the railways and stuff. The
railway's gone, yeah.
But yeah, you probably have to scour like old dialogue to see if it... I always thought Marsden came across as a character who had lived in that world for quite a while. He was quite world weary.
He lived in that world for quite... Definitely that. I'm not saying he ever explicitly stated it, but I always just felt like he'd never been there before. He was a new guy in town, but maybe that was never explicitly stated.
Maybe. The last part of this leak in terms of the progression is that, say you play through this is where it gets into like spoiler territory. Not in terms of a death, but just the way that the game might play out.
And that's if this is true.
This is all. That again, all of this is only if this is true, but it does match up. So you'll be playing as Arthur Morgan. He's the new guy that got confirmed.
Yeah.
At some point, young John is obviously going to get embroiled in this sort of world of gangs and whatever. Maybe he falls in love with Abigail, and maybe they want to break away. Assumedly, he's then going to have to kill Arthur Morgan and try and make that break away. Yeah. The leak states that the gameplay then switches, and you build the ranch from the first Red Dead, because you and her settle down, and it recalls the stuff from the first Red Dead where you're taking care of the ranch, you may be looking after the cows or whatever. But the coolest thing is that if they did do this, it answers the biggest fan complaint from Red Dead, because people hated that John died and we were stuck with Jack Marsden.
Right.
If Red Dead 2 ends and Morgan dies and we're then given a prime of life John Marsden, then that immediately, all the fans are going to be like, that's what we wanted.
Yeah, we wanted an end game. Yeah.
And it means that you can play for him as much as you want in this new open world. It doesn't negate the fact that he eventually dies, because eventually he does atone for his sins. You have all the sins of the father stuff with the young version and Arthur Morgan, John and Jack Marsden. All that for me comes full circle, and it means that they've actually walked a perfect line between bringing back one of the most iconic deaths in gaming and building on it without making it too bad.
Next question.
Go on.
Imagine if, I can't remember where the timelines line up. I think he's a fair bit older. Red Harlow was just like an old man in a saloon somewhere?
I've looked up that too. I can't think of the exact dates, but Red Dead Rebellion's dates do overlap. Red Harlow would still be alive at the time of Red Dead Redemption 2, because he was rumored to be the protagonist in Red Dead Redemption 2, until Morgan got confirmed or whatever. Yeah, they could totally do that, because Red Dead Rebellion was initially made by Capcom, and it was only Rockstar that took it over.
What's Rebellion? Not Red Dead Revolver?
Sorry, Rebellion was the...
People were saying that the next one was going to be called.
Yes, Rebellion was the rumor. I've been so embroiled in Red Dead stuff for like the last couple of days.
So many R's.
Yeah, Red Dead Rebellion was the rumored title for Redemption 2 that then became Redemption 2. Red Dead Revolver's Red Harlow was the dude who, his life overlaps with Redemption 2. So there's a chance that he might pop up. It would make sense. I mean, Rockstar have done that stuff before. They had Claude from GTA 3 pop up in San Andreas.
He's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
Never said a word.
Didn't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, those iconic shorts. Shorts. There's iconic cargo pants.
Yeah, and that leather jacket, right?
So there's that stuff. The thing that really hammers it home, and I did mention this at the beginning, is that the last part of the leak describes the general atmosphere at Rockstar, saying that it's quite tumultuous and that the studio are having hard times. That lines up with Leslie Benzies leaving, which was the final part of all this that made me go like, this all feels legit, from nailing the name of the protagonist to the general sense of the description of progression matching the official description, and then the real life stuff. This sounds like what Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to all be about.
The account's been deleted as well.
Exactly.
Anything to read into?
Which, well, that's what happened with Spidey in Fallout 4. Yeah. Like, we've been here before, me and thee.
Interesting. So, I mean, what? Just as a last, let's not go into too much, but what do you think of the trailer? Just ignoring all that, maybe.
Well, we were quite nonplussed by it. Like, I still think it's incredibly... The thing is, I'm so nonplussed by it. It's very solid, and everything is in there that I want to see. But again, this does match up with one of the things they mentioned in the leak was that they'd pitched a version of Red Dead Redemption 2 to the higher-ups at Rockstar, and they said it was too much of the same. And that's why, potentially, we haven't got a release date for it yet, and why it's always been delayed and pushed back.
They're trying to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, and I think you can see that in the trailer, because like it looks gorgeous, the facial animation is spectacular, but for me, when the trailer finished, I went, all right. Like, I wasn't blown away or anything.
We didn't learn a great deal more than we did initially. Obviously, we got some faces and some dialogue and some names thrown in there. There's been stuff to now speculate about. But ultimately, there were a lot of panning shots of landscapes rather than, like, properly getting into the deets.
I kind of wanted, because I quite liked in the first trailer when they sort of connoted, like, the Revenant or Alejandro Inarritu's, Alejandro Inarritu's, like, cinematography, all his style. I like that stuff. But in the second one, I kind of thought they would show more of, like, the heists and stuff, like from GTA 5.
Yeah.
But they kind of did, they kind of didn't. They didn't really show any like in-depth gameplay.
It's like, tricky for me because there's something about Rockstar games that I think I don't. The characters I don't find very endearing. They're usually assholes. And
they were horrible in GTA 5, especially Trevor.
And there are some assholes who I like in gaming. There are some total pieces of shit who are lovely.
What's that dude from Bully? Jimmy Hopkins. Yeah,
he's a
great kid.
Yeah, I liked being him.
He's quite misjudged.
Yeah, I mean,
got a good heart.
He was trying to actually get rid of the bullying in school. But anyway, I struggle to connect sometimes with Rockstar games because I instantly go in there thinking everyone in this game is going to be an arsehole before they've even come up on screen. The only other thing that my major takeaway was that objectively, it looks okay visually. Like it looks good. But at the same time, we had Uncharted 4 last year.
True.
I even think, arguably, that like Battlefront 1 Frostbite stuff looks occasionally better than some of the shots we saw in there.
The only way that DICE's engine tends to look so photoreal is because they're literally taking pictures of things and putting it in. Photogrammetry. Which is obviously like Rockstar hand animate. Well, I think they hand animate the vast majority of their stuff, and they sculpt everything.
So it's a totally different like method.
But it does
budget, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I think one of the biggest things for me was the facial animation. I was like, okay, that's a marked step up.
Good. I agree with that. Yeah.
But the rest, it is more of the same, but that same is one of the best games of all time, so it's weird.
Yeah.
But for me, when that trailer finished, I didn't take anything major away from it. I've become more excited by looking into these potential theories and leaked things, because that gave me more of an idea of the story. Because if you compare like GTA 5 second trailer, which was released a year after the first one, same time frame as what we've got with these Red Dead trailers, the second GTA 5 trailer gave us much more character stuff and much more of an idea of like where those three guys were going to go. Whereas if all this stuff is true about the behind the scenes machinations of Rockstar being a bit rocky, lol, then that would make sense that the game isn't in the best state, and that's probably why we haven't got a release date yet.
Yeah, so it's looking like it's going to be a 2018 game. There's not a lot of time left for them to get there.
Well, it's definitely 2018, but they haven't narrowed down like a particular quarter or anything like that. So, yeah.
For now, watch this space. We'll keep you posted with all the Rockstar news, and maybe there'll be another trailer out in the meantime.
I'd hope so. I wanted some actual gameplay, like some behind-the-back gameplay.
Yeah, that'd be good. But for now, that's us. That's Scott and his theories from Reddit.
We'll see how they go.
I've been Peter from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll see you very, very, very soon.
Bye.
Sounded ominous, didn't it?
It did a little bit, but
Very soon.
we'll see you soon.
Yeah.